各位，围绕着中国与印度发展差距的最新讨论中，印度学者普拉尚特的讲话之所以会受到关注，并不是因为他列举了多少的数据，而是因为他将问题重新放到了一个更本质的维度：国家如何在自由、秩序、能力之间找到稳定的结构。外在经济表现看似由投资、消费和产业体系而推动，但这些外在指标背后真正发挥作用的，是在国家内部是否具备一致性的秩序与长期治理的能力。在全球产业链加速重组的背景下，这一问题比任何单一的数字更能解释中印差距为何在近30年持续扩大。这一问题比任何单一的数字更能解释中印差距为何在近30年持续扩大。不同的政治制度本身不是问题的核心，它关注的是一种与制度相匹配的集体行动能力。而印度长期以来在自由的形式与自由的内容之间存在脱节。他认为印度社会在宪法层面有广泛的自由，但缺乏对自由如何运作的公共教育，使民主的实践过程中常被等同于噪音，而非秩序与责任的结合。这一种缺口不仅体现在政治层面，也在教育质量、识字率和工人生产率以及非正规的经济占比等领域造成了连锁的效应，最终影响国家是否具备将人口规模、市场潜力与制度能力进行整合的现实条件。普拉尚特的观点指向了一个更深层次的判断：如果国家能力与社会结构之间长期不同步，那发展速度就会被制度本身限制，而不是由资源多少或者意识形态而决定。未来发展走向会让这一种结构性差距有可能会继续拉大。当今全球竞争的核心已经从土地、劳动力等传统要素，转向了制度化教育、科技创新与治理能力这些更稳定的基础里面去。中国在基础教育、识字率、能源转型和专利创新上的积累，正在形成一种能持续提高国力的结构，这正是现代国家竞争最关键的部分。与此同时，印度长期忽略基础教育，研发投入偏低，创新的体系规模有限，使得印度难以在关键产业上突破重围。他的提醒并非是对比优劣，而是指出一个现实：自由若没有与责任、秩序和教育配套，就无法转变为推动国家前进的力量。对于一个希望进入全球高端产业竞争的国家而言，这一种结构的差异才被值得认真探讨的部分。让我们看一下视频。
See, what you call as progress, measured by many indicators, most importantly GDP, is not something totally external. It is driven by something internal in the first place. So we look at the total production, then consumption, and then we say this is the net economic output. We look at the size of the military. We look at technologies and innovations. We look at the length of railroads. We look at energy, steel production. And in looking at all these things, it is easy to miss the inner driver of external order. Because when we are talking of external production, then you definitely mean something that comes from a structure, an order, right? It's not like a random tree in the jungle that flowers and fruits at its appointed time. You're talking of roads, you're talking of factories, you're talking of ports and airports, and they require order. Now, till 1990, India and China were roughly similar in terms of both the total GDP and the per capita GDP. In fact, India was ahead till the mid-80s in terms of per capita GDP. Then we find China speeding along one road and India languishing behind. India had the democratic road, and China had the state-controlled communist road. Now, when we talk of democracy, we mean freedom. So ideally, we would like to think that the path of freedom, inner freedom, should give better external results also. Right? If you have freedom for the individual, all kinds of freedoms are enshrined in our constitution. Article 15, 19, 20, 21, and that entire stretch. You would want to think that where the citizenry is more free, there would be more order on the outside, but that is not necessary. See, what you have in India is more of an unconscious democracy. And what you have in China is more of a disciplined collectivism. It is not really democracy versus communism. Our democracy is qualified by the word unconscious. We have freedom, but we have freedom without the education on what freedom really means. And when you do not know what freedom really means, then freedom is noise, freedom is chaos. Freedom will not result in inner order, let alone outer order. And for external progress, you require order, right? You won't even have inner order. How will you have outer order? Similarly, what you have there is not just communism. You should rather call it the power of enforced discipline, enforced collective discipline. And that's what you find surging ahead of unconscious freedom, right? And the surge is evident in all kinds of metrics. We talked of 1990 when we were comparable. Today they stand at 18 trillion. We are at 4 trillion. In per capita terms, they are ahead by 5 times, right? And you look at any measure of material progress, they are well ahead of us, truly ahead of us. Because we thought of democracy as something given, we didn't realize that the human being must be given the power to choose. But alongside, or rather before the power, he must be given the wisdom to choose. Democracy is not just about elections or having rights. Democracy is first of all about having the wisdom as to how to choose. If we do not know how to choose, then instead of order or growth or betterment, all you will get is a hodgepodge. And that's what is evident here. You look at the law and order indices in China and India, and China does much better than India. The number of murders in India is 4 times that of China. Any measure of, you look at the worker productivity. The average Chinese worker is 2.5 times more productive than the average Indian worker. A lot of that has to do with technology also. We understand. A lot of that also has to do with the fact that a lot of our economy is the informal sector. We understand. But still 2.5 times is a lot, right? Even in terms of number of hours put in per week, the Chinese worker is ahead of the Indian worker by a few hours. Though that is not something necessarily welcome, right? Or even needed. We do not want to have 50 or 55-hour work weeks. But what remains is that freedom given to someone who does not know the meaning of freedom will not result in something auspicious. Right? First of all, freedom must be an inner thing. And when freedom is an inner thing, you know where your bondages are. Otherwise, freedom becomes the fulfillment of desire. I must be free to eat a pizza as per my desire. And that is your definition of freedom. This is freedom without wisdom and freedom without responsibility. And when you will have these things, you will not progress neither inwardly nor outwardly. Another thing that we must really think about is education. You name Japan, you name China, you must include the entire Southeast Asia there, Singapore, Taiwan, even countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, Korea. They all got their freedom almost at the same time as India did. In some ways, you can even include Israel, right? 1948, they were born. And they were in a pathetic state. You know of the Holocaust. And they were not even natives, right? They gathered in Israel from all over the world. So we all started at the same time. India, Southeast Asia, Israel. But one crucial difference between India and the other stories has been the focus on education. Primary education, primary enrollment. We focused a lot on higher education, and that was a wonderful thing to do, right? IITs, this one is a new one, but we know of how we brought up the so-called temples of modern India in the 1950s and 60s, and that was a beautiful thing. But that should have been accompanied by a stronger focus at the grassroots level. That didn't happen. So much so that even today, India's literacy rate is just 77%. And China has almost 100% literacy. That's a huge difference. Entire Southeast Asia, with a few minor exceptions, has complete literacy, 100% literacy. That's a big thing. You know of PISA? PISA?
No, sir.
Heard of PISA? Huh? No, not that PISA. No, not that PISA. It's a program for student assessment, program for international student assessment, right? It assesses students globally on their comprehension skills, whether they can really read
and
clearly,
understand.
yes, and science and mathematics. It's a long-standing program, several decades old. We participated in it, and then we have dropped out and we have refused to again participate. Reason? The last time we participated, we barely avoided the last rank, and China topped. China topped. I suppose only Kyrgyzstan was below us. We were the second last. And China was right at number 1. And since then, we have adamantly refused to participate in the assessment. For a few years, we said our students are affected by COVID, so we won't participate. And even this year, the PISA assessment is scheduled to take place. India has again opted out. This is the consequence of ignoring primary education, middle education. Our students just don't hold up. Are you getting this? Huh? And then the Chinese are filing 16 lakh patents every year. We don't file even 1 lakh. That's the state of education here. Public and private sector combined, they put 2.6% of their GDP into R&D. We put some 0.5% or maybe less than that. I don't know the latest figures. These things are connected. Do you see this? From where will you get innovation? If your kids are not well educated, and even if they are educated, they are just moving towards the service sector rather than the innovation line, how will you lead the world? Today, we are still building more coal-fired power plants. And China leads the world in renewable energy. Though also, one must qualify that China leads the world in global carbon emissions also. But they are kind of making up for it. When it comes to wind, solar, hydro, right? They are far ahead of not just India, but actually the entire world. Last year, or last to last, they installed more clean energy capacity than the rest of the world put together. Do you understand this? It's a matter of having a clear, educated vision. Do you understand? Just having democracy will not take you anywhere if those casting their vote are not educated enough. In fact, being free but being unconscious is worse than being a slave. We may debate this. In India, we debate a lot, no? They act and we debate. And debating is a wonderful thing. I want you to debate with me, definitely. But then debating comes with certain ethics, right? If it is seen and shown that a line of argument definitely holds above the rest, then that has to be acknowledged. Somebody has to surrender. Freedom does not mean freedom for continuous petulance and nonsense, or does it? I will not agree even if you show me with facts and figures and concrete proof. I'll still not agree. Is that freedom? Is that freedom?
That is freedom to harm ourselves.
That is the freedom to harm yourself, right? So that is one thing that we are probably failing to acknowledge. You cannot just get over with your responsibility by giving somebody choices. You have to also educate him how to exercise that choice. And we have not been educated in that.